So I went to a singles event, and when I got there, it was literally 90% women. And I was like, I'm gonna go now.
You know, I don't know what I find funnier as more and more women are making these videos. The fact that they're finally figuring out that men are done. They're walking away from dating. They're walking away from relationships in marriage. They don't want anything to do with women anymore. Or the fact that today's modern women can't seem to understand that they are the reason why men are walking away from dating, relationships, and marriage. Well, ladies, to quote someone from a long, long time ago, let me explain it to you, Lucy. Here's the reality for y'all. For years now, you've all run around saying you don't want men, you don't need men, you just want them to leave you alone. And if you didn't say it, you allowed other women to say it for you and never told them to stop. You allowed those women to speak for you and to tell men to go away, which is exactly what men are doing. Yet you're all sitting here shocked that men are actually doing what you asked, because you've all convinced each other that men don't listen to you, when in fact, we do. We hear you loud and clear. And yet here you are wondering why there's no men at these dating events. I mean, really? Then of course there's the never-ending ridiculous demands, higher standards you've all come up with, where you expect men to be perfect, where you'll deride them for being less than 6 feet tall or making less than six figures, even though the overwhelming majority of men fall into one or both of those camps. And don't even get me started on these six-pack abs and 6-inch you-know-what, which you all demand men have, but when men hold you to similar criteria, you scream it's not fair, it's body shaming. I'm sorry to tell you, ladies, but contrary to the belief you all have, we're not dumb. We see and hear what you're saying. We see it for the double standards and utter hypocrisy that it is. And we're not going to deal with it. But hey, you can keep chasing those perfect tens, the less than 5% of guys that actually meet all those criteria, even though the reality is, for most of you, you don't stand a chance of getting one of those guys, because they could have any woman they want, and they're not going to settle for an average woman, which is what most of you are. Just like most men are average also. And just like you've rejected all those average men as not worthy enough, well, I hate to break it to you, they're now rejecting you because you're not worthy enough. The difference being that, unlike women rejecting men for superficial things like not having six-pack abs or being 6 foot tall or making six-figure income, men are rejecting the average woman because they've become so toxic, so ridiculous with their demands, so utterly narcissistic, that it's simply not worth engaging with them. Ladies, you need to look in the mirror and ask yourselves a serious question. Why? As in, why would you think men would want anything to do with you? Would want to be anywhere near you, let alone go on dates or be in relationships with you? Why would you think we'd want to put up with that toxic behavior? And before you all go screaming, it's not fair to label us all that way, remember the other thing that I haven't brought up yet, but I will now. The whole Me Too movement. The one where you scream to the high heavens, it's all men till it's no men. Or that every man should be assumed to be bad until he proves himself to be good. Well, ladies, guess what? The reverse is true too. It's all women till it's no women. And as for women proving themselves to be good, not bad, well, we'll get back to you when we actually find one like that. The reality of the world is today's women have made it completely unsafe for men to be anywhere near them. The risk of a false allegation of harassment or worse is simply too great. And while you all love to scream that they're rare, the reality is it happens by the millions every single year, and men know it. This is especially true at things like dating events, because it's every bit as likely for a man that you're going to turn around and claim he's harassing you, or that you'll mock him, humiliate him, even go so far as making videos about him because you find it amusing that he actually thought he might have a chance with you when he's not even in your league, which is hilarious since most of the women who do these things aren't in any man's league, which is why later on in life they end up making videos demeaning men and putting them down, because they've ended up broke, bitter, and alone, and they want to encourage as many women to join them in their misery. So I hope you all truly are strong and independent, because that's your future. It's why I've already invested in companies that make things like cat food and boxed wine, and why I'm already seeing a huge return on my investment. And it's only going to get better. So you're going to have to be strong and independent, because you're not going to have that partner in life who will support you. It wasn't men's idea. It was yours. Y'all made your bed. Now you're going to get to lie in it. Alone.
He summed that up perfectly. Now, let's take a look at the exact archetype of woman he was referring to.
Combining pretty with intelligent, strong, successful, slaying at life, you've got a very terrifying woman on your hands.
Okay, and what does that have to do with anything?
A very, not easy woman on your hands, right? Men don't like that.
Don't they?
Men do not like me. Men are very, very terrified of me.
Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what it is.
And the men who do like me, the ones that are attracted to me, are unavailable. Men who are in relationships actively.
Has one ever taken a moment to consider why that might be?
And uggo weirdos.
Here's a thought that one might not like. People tend to attract what they are. So they usually attract the unavailable if they themselves are unavailable. And as for the latter, well, I think some introspection might be due in this case.
Because at the end of the day, I am merely just a fantasy. I am not a real human because of the pretty and scary.
Right. It sure is amazing what some people will tell themselves, isn't it?
Notice how she didn't do any form of introspection during her entire rant. If she did, she would quickly realize that men don't want her because she's a headache.
I am not for mandatory paternity testing, but I am against men being forced to father children that aren't theirs. And the following story is wild. Gypsy Rose Blanchard married her husband Ryan while incarcerated. In December, Gypsy was released. In March, they split, and in April, she filed for divorce. In May, she confirmed that she was back together with her ex-fiancé, Ken. Then last week, Gypsy announced that she was 11 weeks pregnant with Ken's child. This would put the date of conception around April, the same month that she filed for divorce. And this is where it gets interesting. According to People magazine, as stated in Louisiana law, if the mother is married to someone other than the biological father when the child was conceived, or has been divorced for less than 300 days at the time of birth, the husband/ex-husband shall be the presumed father, unless paternity is established for the biological father. With this law in place, the only way that Ken's name will go on the birth certificate is if Ryan signs an affidavit that Ken is the father. If he doesn't, and Ken wants his name on the birth certificate, he will have to file a motion with the courts, and the courts will make all three of them take a DNA test to determine the father. This is called marital presumption of paternity, and it's not just in Louisiana. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Don't pay child support.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
Like, why would I pay child support? I'm not a bum. When you saying, what do I pay? You're thinking child support, I'm not giving anything. I'm saying, I take care of my babies.
Okay, what does that look like?
The school, clothes, trips, etc.
They live in the house with their mom 24/7, right?
Yes.
They live in their home. So do you pay any of those bills in their house?
Yes, I did. They grown now.
So the 16-year-old not right now. So you still have one that's underage.
Yes, and well taken care of.
What does that look like?
It's
right
amazing.
now, today.
It's amazing.
What does it look like?
What do you mean what it looks like?
For the 16-year-old right now, what does that look like? How do you take care of him? It's a boy,
visit,
right?
we hang, go to games, etc.
School?
Yeah,
Pay for it?
I don't take
You got
him
a car?
to school. No, he's 16. No.
So who drives him to school?
His mom.
So you pay for the gas?
No.
You pay for her car insurance?
No.
Do you pay for her car bill?
No.
Do you pay for her light bill?
No.
Do you give her money for food?
Of course.
How much?
Whatever she needs.